This video is brought to you by Describe. Welcome to the third and, for now, final part of this video series where I basically pitch you on the details you might need to know about each Critical Role campaign so you can better decide what you want to watch and where you want to start. Today we're covering a couple of miniseries as well as the third campaign of the main cast's adventures, which is still currently ongoing. Exandria Unlimited. We're going to start with the 8-part miniseries that aired between campaigns 2 and 3. This was run by Aabria Iyengar, marking the first time the cast of Critical Role handed the reins for the campaign world off to a DM outside the main cast. Exandria Unlimited is set in Tal'dorei, the continent where the Vox Machina story took place. It's been more than 20 years since the events of that campaign, so we get to see Aabria's take on what these iconic places look like long after the events of Campaign 1. Aabria also said she had a few specific goals when running this game. She wanted to show a location the audience was very familiar with, a location we had heard of but never seen depicted in the campaigns, and she wanted to introduce a new location. In that first category, something familiar, we get Iman, where a ton of the action of the first campaign took place. In the second category, we got Byrodin, which is where Vex and Vax's mother lived long before Campaign 1 began, but we never saw the town on stream, until EXU. And for the final location, someplace brand new that Aabria introduced to the world... Come on, you don't want me to give that away, do you? There are 5 main cast members for Exandria Unlimited. Ashley Johnson plays Fern, a fawn druid who is also an absent-minded kleptomaniac. Fern is one of the best characters in the history of Critical Role. She's so weird and so delightful. It makes it clear just how much of a genuine crime it is that Ashley missed so many games over the years, because Fern is outstanding. Robbie Damon plays Dorian Storm, an Air Genasi bard from a noble family. Dorian is a good man, but he's not always a brave man. Sometimes he acts the pragmatist, and other times he screws his courage to the sticking place and takes the first big swing into action. He is a great character. Dorian is terrific. Liam O'Brien plays Orem of the Air Ashari, a halfling fighter and former bodyguard of Keyleth from Campaign 1. Orem was percolating in Liam's head for literally years, and so in addition to having some cool connection to the other campaigns that Liam has been very carefully setting up, he's also a very clear and consistent character. Honestly, I consider Orem the dad of the group, even though Liam does not seem to know that he is a leader and doesn't want to be. Which, in fairness, makes him just like Liam's other 2 characters. Amy Carrero plays Opal, a human warlock who is confident and naive. She's basically a former beauty pageant girl, but she's got a bit of trauma in her backstory that she still needs to work through. Still, Opal's overwhelming optimism is infectious, and her Valley Girl attitude brings a very fun dynamic to the table. Matt Mercer gets a chance to take a spin in the player's seat as Doriax, a dwarven sorcerer himbo. Doriax has a shady past, and despite his positive attitude, he's actually more cynical than you might expect. He also often has no idea what's going on, which is an absolute gift for the group. It's also an outstanding way for Matt to leave all of his metagaming knowledge about the world he created at the door, something he is, frankly, shockingly good at. For a few episodes, they are joined by a guest star, Anjali Bhamani as Fy'ra Rai, a Fire Genasi monk who knows more about what the characters are dealing with than they do, but knows it's not her place to walk their path for them. She just opens the door for them and offers some advice to help get them where they need to go. It's only an 8-episode story, so I can't say a lot about it without spoiling anything, but I can say that the party finds themselves in possession of an artifact that they have no business getting involved in, and they basically need to figure out what to do with it as some very dangerous people close in on them. It's a solid miniseries, and if you want to start here as your journey for Critical Role, you can't really go wrong. Now Sorry. I gotta take this, hold on. Hello. This is he. Yes, I do know Artevis Gleam. Well, he reads the ads for Describe, the sponsor of today's video. Well, they're a team of writers who create incredible, immersive, and dramatic scenes for your D&D game. Like, if you want a cool description of a monster or evocative imagery of a location, you could not do better than Describe. In fact, the folks at Describe have a discount for fans of the channel. If you visit describe.com/supergeek and use the promo code SUPERGEEK at checkout, you can save 10% off of your first subscription payment. Well, it's dscryb.com/supergeek. Okay? Okay, thanks so much. Yes, I will thank Describe for sponsoring the video. Thanks so much. That was the cops. Artevis Gleam stole my car. He's fine. I'm sure he's fine. Anyway, let's get back to the matter at hand. Campaign 3, Bell's Hells. After EXU, we got Campaign 3, which is still ongoing. At the time of recording, there have been 43 episodes. And honestly, there's never really been a better time to dive into Critical Role. You should just start watching Campaign 3 right now. But if you want to know more, here are some details. This campaign is still pre-taped because, there's still a pandemic. And to help give the cast some breaks, and to help new viewers like you have an easier time catching up, they generally take the last week off every month. Usually this episode is replaced with a one-shot, or every once in a while the show will go dark for a few weeks to be replaced by a miniseries, like the Mighty Nine Reunited, or the 2 miniseries we're going to talk about in a moment. Campaign 3 is set in Marquette, a South Asian / North African / Middle Eastern influenced continent south of Tal'dorei. We briefly saw a small part of this region in Campaign 1, but Campaign 3 gets to dive deeper into some of the rich and varied locations on the continent. Whereas the early levels for Campaigns 1 and 2 had the party drifting from location to location, in this campaign the group has a home-based city that we get to spend a lot of time in. Laura plays Imogen Timmelt, a human sorcerer with purple hair and a southern accent. That's not the right one, but something like that. She has telepathic abilities that she has struggled to control all of her life, making it hard for her to be a part of society. She also has reoccurring nightmares. Those might be kind of important. Taliesin plays Ashton Greymore, a punk rock Earth Genasi barbarian who has some visible scars from an accident in their recent past that, pun only partially intended, rocked their entire world. They've got some cool, unique magic, aka Taliesin is playing a homebrew barbarian subclass designed by Matt, a subclass that actually gives Ashton some interesting ties into the lore of Campaign 2. Travis plays Bertrand Bell, a fighter who briefly worked with Vox Machina several decades ago in one of the post-campaign one-shots. After playing a mostly level-headed, de facto group dad in Campaign 2, Travis plays Bertrand as a slightly senile old man who is not exactly reliable, but is terribly well-meaning, giving Travis a chance to flex his inner id in a way he hadn't had a chance to do since he played Grog. Sam plays Fresh Cut Grass, an automaton cleric, also with a southern accent, who just wants all of these living, soul-having people around him to feel better. He's also playing a homebrew subclass, specifically a subclass that basically turns F.C.G into the group's therapist. But of course, people who want to help other people sometimes deny that they themselves need to do some soul-searching. Although Fresh Cut Grass would take issue with that, since they don't think they actually have a soul themselves. Marisha plays Laudna, a multi-class sorcerer/warlock. She's a human, but actually she's basically undead. It turns out she's got some strong ties to one of the most shocking moments from Campaign 1. In fact, in a weird way, her character actually made a cameo in the first season of the animated Legend of Vox Machina show. If you can spot her, you win a prize. Your blood will run cold. Anyway, Laudna is fantastic. She is incredibly spooky and scary, but suffers from some serious arrested development, so she has an innocent, childlike way of looking at things. Ashley plays Fern? Hey, she's back from EXU. And so is Liam as Orem. Both of them were basically giving their Campaign 3 characters a test run in that miniseries to get used to the characters and the mechanics. And Robbie Daymond is also in Campaign 3 as Dorian? Okay, he's only part of this campaign for about 16 episodes, basically visiting as an extended guest star, but he is absolutely delightful. Later in the campaign, we get another change-up in the characters and in the cast, but honestly, I don't think I want to spoil that part in this video. It happens very early, though. You'll know it when you see it. One of the most striking parts of Campaign 3 is that, while the cast does want to have the same level of drama and intrigue and role-playing they've become used to, they don't want to repeat themselves. For a good chunk of Campaign 2, nobody wanted to share their backstory because they knew it would be more dramatic if these things came up naturally during the course of play. However, this also meant the group distrusted each other for a long, long time, at least in character. Very, very early in Campaign 3, the players take a different tactic, as their characters ask each other questions about their backstories, and they are, generally, much more willing to open up and explain a bit more about what their deal is. This change-up really helps give the campaign a very different tone. So let's talk about these arcs as best we can. Arc 1, Jrusar. We don't really know yet where the creative team will end up breaking up the different arcs when they're looking back on this campaign, but at the moment, the folks updating the Critical Role wiki have divided the campaign into 2 arcs. Only one of them has a working title named after the city where most of the action took place, the five-spired city of Jrusar. It's really fun getting to see an urban adventure, especially one that lasts for so long. There were short urban adventures in the other campaigns, but as somebody who loves an arc that lingers in one location and gets to show off lots of facets of it, this is one of the things that I really enjoy about Campaign 3. There are tons of weird things going on in town, and some of them are connected in unexpected ways. There's a lot of strong narrative momentum propelling them from one plot point to another, but there's also still time for them to step out of the main plot and go on a side quest for a few episodes. It's kind of like the same balance you might get in an open-world video game. In fact, it seems like the party finally figured out what Matt was trying to get them to learn in Campaign 2, that the plot will be directed by their actions and they need to be proactive. Arc 2. Probably. We think? In the second arc, the party leaves Jrusar and explores some other extremely cool locations in Marquette. We get another guest star, Erika Ishii, as Dusk, an elf warlock with some mysterious connections to Fern's backstory. We also got to dive deeper into Imogen's past, explored some of F.C.G's and Ashton's baggage, and came face-to-face with Laudna's inner demons. Plus, we got some truly wild battles and a major character death that leads the group to start making some desperate choices, which leads to some truly incredible sequences and episodes. In the most recent adventure, another character's backstory also got brought into the focus, but I kind of don't want to say any more than that just yet, because there's some people watching this who might not have caught up yet. So since that's about as much as I can reasonably say about Campaign 3 without getting into spoilers, which I don't want to do in these videos, let's jump over to the next miniseries that appeared on the channel. Exandria Unlimited, Kymal. Exandria Unlimited Kymal was also a two-part miniseries that returned to the cast members from EXU, who aren't Fern and Orym, and also introduced a new companion, Morrigan, a rabbit-like rogue played by Erica Lindbeck. In this campaign, we get to visit a casino town, perform a wild heist, and also get to briefly visit a spa where each room is inspired by one of the dragons that killed countless people in Campaign 1, because Abria is either painfully aware of how time flattens tragedy into kitsch, or else she just has a really dark sense of humor. Honestly, it's probably both. I really like EXU Kymal, but of course, the next miniseries totally blew my socks off. Exandria Unlimited, Calamity. Brennan Lee Mulligan from the Dimension 20/Dropout channel visited Critical Role and ran a 4-episode miniseries. It's set during a major historical event hundreds of years in the past, long before any of these campaigns. And honestly, I kind of don't want to say anything except for this. I could honestly teach a semester-long college class about these 4 episodes of D&D. It is an absolute masterclass, not just from the DM, but also the players who all absolutely bring their A game. It's maybe one of the best actual play adventures I've ever seen. It's maybe not to everyone's taste. There's not a ton of dice rolling in the first episode because there's a lot of exposition to get through, but it's still all dramatic and tense. Honestly, seriously, even if you've never watched any episodes of Critical Role, I strongly recommend you check out EXU Calamity. It is a hell of a ride. Thank you so much for watching this series. It was a ton of fun to try to break down some of these extremely long D&D campaigns into some relatively short videos, since I didn't want to spoil anything, but did want to give you as much information as I could so you could decide where you might want to jump in and watch some Critical Role. So I hope these were helpful. If you want to support the channel, there are a few ways you can do that. You can subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about new videos as soon as they come out. Usually that's on Mondays and Thursdays. You can support me on Patreon. Any dollar amount really helps the channel. You can join my Discord and hang out with other people who are also catching up with Critical Role. And you can sign up for my newsletter to get updates about what I've got going on. Click here for my video about Campaign 2 of Critical Role and where you might want to start watching that. Until next time, play fair and have fun.